In our worship experiences, what our goal is we hope that everybody will have a profound encounter with God. That somehow their souls are open. That's what worship is. It's a spiritual encounter or spiritual discipline so that we can get to know who God is as God lives through who we are. At New Life, we have different styles of worship, and each of those styles is for a particular kind of person or a particular kind of need. We have a traditional formal style of worship that happens at 8 o'clock on Sunday mornings. Most of the people who go there are some of our long-term members who grew up with this style of worship. And this style of worship is just, and for me, is incredibly important because that's what I grew up with too, and it's very foundational for me. And then we move into two styles on a Sunday morning, one at 9:15 and 10:30, that we call Wave Cool. It's intended to be an invitational kind of worship, where we can get excited about who God is and express that excitement, and it comes through the music most especially, which is kind of the fabric that holds the worship itself together. And in that worship there's a lot of prayer and praise and celebration of who God is. It also moves into, like at the traditional, there'll be a sermon that tries to speak to some of the contemporary issues that we're dealing with as a people of God and into our communities. We do some varieties of worship that are a little different too. One of the things is worship for kids, where we get families together to worship, young families up to, I think the children are about 4th grade. And we have a puppet team as well as the band and videos and such. It's supposed to be a high energy kind of worship where parents can come specifically with their kids, worship with their kids in a style and a format that's kids level. And then as soon as the worship has come to a conclusion after maybe a half hour or so, the parents and their children will go back and work on a project that kind of wraps up what the worship theme was so that they can talk about it and not only just hear about it and experience it. So it's a complete package. And then what happens is a lot of parents and their kids will be going home talking about it. So it's part of our faith formation as well for our families. Another style of worship on a Sunday morning, which we call Spirit Song, and it's a much more meditative style of worship. It's very keyboard led, and it's intended for us just to come in and relax and to be able to prayerfully focus into God and God's Spirit, maybe a deeper level about who God is and how God is impacting us on this day. And just provides a space and a time that's a little bit different for people in their worship expression. And then periodically we'll have other styles. We've done something called sacrificial worship, where we come praying about a specific cause and committing ourselves and our spiritual energy to individuals who have specific needs, and basically sacrificing a portion of ourselves for their well-being, their healing, and their hopefulness as well. All of our worship services are intended to have a point in which a word is spoken, and the word is intended to resonate in our souls, a word of hopefulness, a word of goodness. It may come through the sermon, but sometimes that word doesn't even come through the sermon. It might come through a touch, or it might come through just a thought that comes into our mind, but somewhere in that worship experience, God speaks, and there's a revelation or some sense of newness, or maybe a comfort or a sense of compassion. And that's what we try and do with our worship, is to help to generate an experience whereby we know we have participated with God.